J'arrive, c'est bon? J'arrive. On y va? On y va? On commence? Ouais. Et mon écran. On va y aller, ouais, c'est bon. Le stream il marche. Non, mais je vais rester là, de toute façon, tu montres ce que tu veux. Non, les deux, on parle. Hein. Toi, tu parles.
Ah oui, je vais parler de tout, etc. Mais sur la finalité de ce truc-là, je suis pas.
Ouais, c'est introduit ça. All right. Are we good? All right, welcome to all. I'm Sébastien, founder and CEO at Algorithmic, and this is Jeremy. He will be doing demos today. You will have demos. We're very, very excited today to be here at SIGGRAPH for the Substance Days at SIGGRAPH 2018. It's a few words, so I will be speaking over a few slides first, and then you will have something more interesting, which is the demos of the tools themselves. But a few words about Substance Days first. What are the Substance Days? So it's actually our way to like meet the community, and for the community to meet us as well at the same time, and to learn from us, to learn from the most advanced users, what they can do with Substance, how they can improve themselves, etc. And it's a very important part of the company. Actually, it's become something very, very important, and actually so much so that we've constantly added new dates and new locations for Substance Days all over the planet. And so to get as close as possible to our users. So we started in Hollywood. The first one was located in Hollywood actually a few days before SIGGRAPH 2 years ago. It was an awesome thing, and it was held at the Neumann School of Visual Effects there. It was a great, great time. And so we figured, okay, we have to do that again, and we did that again at GDC in San Francisco, and in Asia, in Shanghai, Seoul, Korea, Tokyo, Japan, and lately the latest one was in London in May, if I'm not mistaken, or June. And so the goal again is to meet with the community. So here's a shot of the one we did in Shanghai. It's 450 people, and it's a lot of people actually when you stand up there, and it was a blast. Like Shanghai was a blast, but Tokyo was a blast as well. Seoul was a blast. Actually, there are users of Substance all over the world, and meeting these guys is always a pleasure. It's also a matter for us to have awesome speakers like Zhelong Xu from China here on the right. He's the author, obviously, of that piece here, but of many more. And you've seen his work, I'm pretty sure, on ArtStation. His level is stellar. He's one of the best 3D artists I've seen in my life, period. And we were very fortunate to have him talk at the Substance Days Shanghai a few months back. Also, on the left, you have Glauco Longhi from Sony Santa Monica. One of the best, again, 3D artists in the world, period. Sculptor and texture artist, and Josh Lynch, one of the most advanced Substance designer users out there as well. So that was for Tokyo, for instance, and but there have been many more speakers. You will see some today as well. All right, so speaking of the community, I cannot resist, every time I do a Substance Day keynote, I cannot resist to just browse through a few images of creations from the community of Substance users. And it can span from everything like realistic or non-realistic, whatever the theme, whatever the technique. This is very important, actually. This one is one of my favorite because it's not realistic, it's not photoreal. It's not the intent here. The intent here is to create something that makes, that conveys something, but not through technical details like the quality of the materials themselves, like the quality meaning the proximity of between materials, digital materials, and the real materials. Here it's way more cartoonish, but it's the case here as well. I love Link here. But yeah, we enjoy so much like browsing ArtStation and Behance and all these sites, Sketchfab as well, to see how the creations of our users. So it's mostly I mean it's a great feeling, obviously. This is interesting. It's a piece that is entirely procedural, and Nicolas Damjanov is really important for us these days, and you will see why. Also, he's been like testing out Substance Alchemist, Project Alchemist. Sorry, it's not a product yet, but Project Alchemist for us, and deeply. This work, for instance, also is like perfect. Yeah, nothing to say about like the quality of this wood, how it's been aged, and Walid Purcell made an awesome job here. Anyway. Pauline Boiteux as well. He's one of the leading substance designer artists out there these days. I think what she's producing is worth looking at, really. Anyway, so just browsing through incredible piece of art. Also, we can stumble upon like stuff like Jonathan Benenou, who's an artist at Ubisoft and does that on his spare time. And this is entirely procedural. There is no geometry there. Again, here it's entirely procedural. So they use only Substance Designer to produce all these leaves, all the stones, all the little wood elements, the moss, and the mix thereof. So it's really impressive to see. Here again, same idea, no geometry. Like basically, on this thing, you have two triangles. And the rest is coming from the height map, the normal map, the albedo, I mean base color map, and roughness and metallic, etc. It's all coming from the textures, and all these textures have been procedurally generated, which means that he can generate variations of that given texture very quickly. That as well is entirely procedural. It's actually a joy to just like try to guess what's going on there. A lot is going on. But the first time I saw, going back a bit, sorry, but it was the first time I saw this, I mean, one of the pieces from Jonathan, I did not realize it was like entirely procedural, so I was like, okay, it's good, but it's not like, okay, the gold is looking good. But I didn't get the fact that not only the gold was made procedurally, but everything, like every shape. So it was a bit crazy. A good example is, and one of the masters at that game is Daniel Thager. Again, like that thing is actually built on top of a very simple piece of geometry. Right. So again, one more example from Daniel. So you can see that there is some kind of a fuzzy line between textures and models and shapes, and we're very happy to see people like exploring these uncharted territories. This is impressive. This as well. This has been made. It's not a. I mean, these are posters, but these have been made with Substance Designer, and the proof is here. Like Nicolas Damjanov, I was talking about earlier. He made this. He must be mad to some degree, but the good mad, you know. Right. So impressive and crazy at the same time. Anyway, more classical, I would say, would be this use of substance for textures again, materials again, but not so classical in what we call algorithmic, the new markets like industrial design, architecture, visual effects. And these are good examples of how to use the materials, not to produce like aged, rusted materials, but pristine materials that are super important in the design process of a shoe or whatever product you're creating, really. Because that without the materials, that Vans without the materials wouldn't be the same, right? You wouldn't have the same feeling of that part or the fabric, the plastic, etc. So this implied creating the materials first and potentially using Substance Source, modify what you can find on Substance Source, and coming up with the result you want. This is a rendering. I love it. Sam is one of amazing artists, and this is all texture using Substance. So beautiful work. And that, again, like in that case, the goal is photorealism, and they're pretty good at achieving something photoreal in that case. I like the atmosphere here. Although I'm not a fan of cinnamon, by the way, I have to say. And yeah. Anyway, good environments. Awesome environments, awesome images. So in order to sell your project, your new house, or it's important to feel also the materials themselves, right? So you have to, if you can do something like this, you feel better. Also, people just use, I mean, the materials can sometimes play a very central role in some productions. This video here is, brutalism 101. Is centered around materials. What do you think about it? Is that a roughness map? Anyway, you get the idea. I will skip the thing, so you don't know the end, and you have to do it to find it. But anyway, that's these are good examples of just people producing this type of art, and it's relying a lot on materials, obviously. Car interiors as well, environments, and not so real, photoreal, not so real, whatever. All the users we have can produce like very varied stuff. Also, this is a good example of photogrammetry based workflow, and all the inputs you get from, all the outputs you get from a photogrammetry dedicated tool, you can process them inside of Substance and produce these results. Also, I like this. It's crazy in a different way, but it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's all materials done with Substance. Anyway. So we don't want to forget one thing, which is, sorry, let me go back. Which is also, I've been showing the work from the community, but we're coming from the game development. The first clients, the first users of Substance have been game developers, and so I wanted to show you a show reel, quick show reel of all the productions. Not all, but the latest ones done with Substance in games. All right. Always a pleasure to see that and all these names and all these games being done with Substance. So it's a real pleasure and always a pleasure to show it. I don't know about you, but I enjoy seeing that from here. And anyway, so interestingly also, I was mentioning of these new markets that we're going after, or coming to us actually to ask for Substance. We see more and more use of Substance in visual effects. Visual effects, and good example is Pacific Rim Uprising here. And we'll have a talk this afternoon by DNAG, sorry, about how Mark Austin, who should be maybe in the room, used Substance Designer to actually produce a large amount of textures for some of the Jaegers in the movie. So again, super proud to see that kind of usage. And if we start to actually list the AAA movies, let's call it them this way, for which some of the VFX has been done using Substance, it's growing very, very fast, and so that's good to witness as well. And actually, when we made the math, just the math, the pure math, like number of licenses, Substance, if you combine Designer, Painter, and other tool set, the whole tool set, it's actually number one in VFX animation, number one in terms of number of licenses. It's we realized this actually not so long ago. We're like, oh well, wait a minute. But so it's good. All right, architecture as well, and lots of more and more usage of not only Substance but real-time techniques overall. Right, you see a lot of Unreal, Unity, and Substance with that. Industrial design, I was mentioning this. All these products, again, you want to create pristine materials, but they look as realistic as possible. You need to feel the materials. If I look at that image, I know how this fabric material will feel under my fingers. So pieces like this as well. And obviously more pieces together combined gives you this. Lately also we've been very happy to see Alpine or Alpine. I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Actually, it's a French thing, but doing designs with Substance again. So car interiors, like also this car seat by Forestia, and like the level of details you need to put into these materials is extreme. Anyway, the list is growing fast as well. I'm super proud of some of these names in there, obviously. Let's say NASA. I can't say it all the time, but I'm very proud to have these guys here. All right, and all the others are great as well. And it's interesting to see how much use of real-time techniques, computer-generated imagery, and Substance is being made by these companies. All right, so I want to talk a bit about the products, and lately we've been working a lot on Substance Source and producing more and more content, more and more materials. Speaking of materials, we've been pushing hard on fabrics. So if you go on Substance Source now, you will see lots of different fabrics that you can tweak again to slightly modify, make them your own, customize. Like this leather, for instance, it can be stitched this way or painted that way. If you carefully, I did that yesterday. If you, for instance, focus on that guy here, it doesn't move, right? Or it moves like slightly because it's the same leather actually, but it's been colored in a different way. It's been stitched in a different way as well. So this is the type of parameterization you can get access to using Substance 5 parametric textures overall. Also, lately we've been pushing a lot on automotive. Maybe you've seen the automotive drops that we've done. Interior, exterior. We even created a car just to be able to apply these materials onto it, and do showcases. We'll see that car later today. All these materials, car paints, obviously, but also like these reflectors, headlights, etc. All procedural, by the way, again. So that means you can customize them to make them your own and apply them. Also, this clay material was super important to actually do something like this, which is like the digital equivalent of clay modeling and working clay for automotive. And this is the car. This is the X-Town. And we used that car to, try out things. And so we've made a presentation of that car in London during the Substance Day, latest Substance Days. Anyway, so here is an example of what I was mentioning, this parametric textures and materials. So if you apply substances, the substances you can find on Substance Source on this very simple shape, you can obtain the tire-like material, but also the rim. And the rim being super parametric itself, you can explore many variations of that given texture. And so one thing I want to show you now, which is not released yet, is something that will help actually browse Substance Source and get a better understanding of all the parameters that come with a given material. So this, I will leave it to Jeremy for a few minutes. This is a demo of something we are adding currently to Substance Source. So when you browse Substance Source, you will be able to tweak the parameters. You see on the right here, you have a list of parameters for that given material, and you will be able to tweak them through the browser and explore the parameter space from the browser. So Jeremy, can you show that? Can we switch to the other computer, please? There you go.
All right. Is my mic working?
Nope.
Yep. No.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So yeah, until now on Source, you had access to a 3D view, and to view the different settings you could apply on a material. All you had access to was basically a bunch of presets. So we would just give you an idea of what the material would look like in different conditions, but there was no way to actually see the whole range of parameters that you could play with. And sometimes some of those substances have 20, 30 parameters. So now we have a cloud 3D player that allows us to look at the textures in real time and kind of tweak those textures to really see each parameter's what it's doing. I can have some color variations here. I can have more or less of the broken tiles. As you can see, it's pretty fast. We kind of generate it in lower resolution, and as soon as it's ready, we get you like a higher resolution, so you can really see the whole range of parameters for each material. Same thing for this one here. This one has two, but it's pretty fast, pretty cool to see different parameters you can apply on the substances right here.
So what's happening here? What's happening here is what's going on is that we're using the Sketchfab viewer here, and when we play with the parameters, what it does is sends a new value or set of values to a server, and the server in that case, you see it's region USA, so it's in Portland, Oregon in that case, but it could be everywhere in the world. It sends all these new data, and on the server, our engine, Substance Engine, is actually recomputing all the outputs in 512, like resolution, low resolution, so that when you tweak, you actually see the resolution going down. Can you show that?
Yeah.
And when you tweak, you see the resolution go down, so that you can actually get a sense for the impact of that tweak. And then when you release, it's actually computing the whole 2K or 4K or whatever set of bitmaps outputs, then getting downloaded and applied onto this object again, right? So it's using the server to actually come up with these variations. So you don't need a beefy computer to do that. You can do that on an iPad or a small computer, and just still browse the parameter of a given material. So that's something that will come later this year, hopefully in a few weeks, and that will give the opportunity to Substance Source user to get a better sense of what they're actually downloading. Right, thank you. So can we switch to my computer again? So speaking of products, I will talk about the products that we released lately very quickly. Maybe you don't know, but we just released a new version of the Substance plugin for 3ds Max. It can do more things. It's more stable. It's working better, and so it's very happy to have it out now. And you can see here, you can keyframe parameters. So that's opening up new opportunities again to be creative with your materials. And it works with most of the renderers out there. So in that case, I think it was V-Ray. Also, Substance Designer Summer Update has been released a few weeks back, and this includes a new revamped UI and UX. So you can see it here. It has like very important features like nodes alignment, which for crazy people, I say crazy all the time, by the way, I realize. But anyway, this is super important for some people, including me, by the way, I have to admit. All right. And the bakers are way faster now, almost 5 times faster. This is the bakers before and now. This is a summer release of Substance Designer, and it's going super fast. Also, very creative stuff like reaction diffusion algorithms are available, etc., etc. So you have a bunch of new features in Substance Designer in this new release. I invite you to take a look at them. Also, we released Substance Painter a few days ago, summer edition, and this one also includes many new features that are of interest. Alembic support for import, so that you can have especially cameras. Super important to import cameras. We go both ways for GLTF. Let's say you want Sketchfab browsing the thing and you want to open it in Substance Painter, you can do it now and export again the GLTF file. So that has to be done. Also new controls for the projection, new gizmos for projections. Super handy to control what you're doing. And the biggie maybe was subsurface scattering support in the real-time viewport and in the painting viewport, so that you can see what you're doing when you paint a character. That was super important. So I'm super proud to have this out now. All right, so I invite you to get to see it if you don't have it yet. So it's time now to talk about stuff that is not out yet again, and I will start with this thing that will be presented this week. It's actually a link between Substance Painter and Random Informaria, but the new link actually that we did at Algorithmic Labs, and Davide Pesare, who joined recently, and François Beaune, they produced this thing to have this workflow that is way more efficient now. So let's say you activate the link now, choose whatever resolution you want to work with, and then when you do modification now in Substance Painter, you actually see them propagate very, very quickly into Maya and RenderMan. So this is RenderMan 22, which is super fast, and you can see, in terms of look dev, it is really, really efficient. By the way, this Hank model has been scanned just for the fun. And yeah, that's something that we are working on, like this new live link technology, super fast, so that we will improve all of our live links between all like third applications and third-party renderers in the future. Also, something new. And that we're super proud of, actually. We realized, and we're suffering, like you guys, with all these messages of you don't have the right version for this file, and or a new version is coming out now. So how to update that and how to make sure you can control the versions you have, etc., etc. So we figured, okay, let's do a launcher. And it is called Project Trebuchet. And that won't be the final name, but we couldn't resist doing this meme. And actually, that guy here is the author of the meme. Yeah, you, Johnny. Don't pretend you're not. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick demo of that thing called Project Trebuchet. And that will be, I hope you like it, but it should be fairly useful. Can we switch?
All right. So yeah, now we have Project Trebuchet here that you can find in the taskbar, and you can use it to just launch your Substance tools, and you can also open it and see a whole bunch of information that you can gather with all the latest events and blog posts that we've been posting on our website. And for each tool, you have a tab here where you can, of course, launch the latest version, find tutorials, again, latest news about a new release. You also have access to all previous versions here, so you can install whatever version you need. And you have that for Substance Painter, Substance Designer, soon Project Alchemist when we'll be ready. And you also have access to Substance Source right here and Substance Academy to find tutorials. In the future, we plan on adding other content to this, such as accessing all our integrations, which right now are a little difficult to find on the website. For all the Cinema 4D, Maya, 3ds Max, all will be accessible here. You'll be able to have the latest version every time. So it should just be a nice hub for everything Substance on your computer.
Thank you. Thanks. Can we switch back? Thank you. Yeah, so that will be out when it's ready. So we don't know when exactly, but later this year, obviously very, very soon now. Yeah, super practical. All right, can we switch back?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, we wanted to say something.
No, I just need to switch back to your...
Switch back to my computer again. Sorry about that. Just to see the meme again. Yeah, here you go. Drake, Canadian, right? So. All right, let's talk about this guy, Project Alchemist. So today we promised we'll be doing a first demo of the tool. So we will be doing a first demo of the tool. Obviously, the tool is not ready to be released, but if we go slow with the mouse, it's okay. No, I'm kidding. It's taking great shape. It's awesome. So Project Alchemist. There's a few words about it before we jump into the demo. As a reminder, it's a new standalone product. That will come as a new standalone product in the Substance ecosystem. And it's dedicated to digital material creation, but what we call augmented digital material creation. And what we want to say by augmented is a mix of techniques. And the techniques that are useful to the artists and the digital materials creators, more than only one thing or one or two things at best. So the new biggie here being AI. Obviously, we wanted to see how AI could be useful to artists and to designers, and turns out it is useful. It's not replacing artists and designers, at least not for now, and I don't see that in the foreseeable future. But still, there are tools that we can use as tools again, and the power and the beauty of this comes with like the mix of all these techniques. Like, for example, Substance Designer, you can procedurally create all these crazy things I've shown you at the beginning of the talk. But at the same time, if you're not like into doing everything procedurally, you can mix procedural techniques and scan data and produce something that is good, right? The output being the only important thing. And if you want to finish by hand, if you want to make sure that it looks exactly the way you want, you can have the tools that allow you to do so. Substance Alchemist is here to be a streamlined, a tool that is here to help streamline the creation, management, exploration of digital materials. And so before we go and jump into the demo, I want to say thank you to all the super alpha testers who've been able to use it and give us feedback, including Nicolas Damjanov. I've been mentioning a lot. So these are materials that he's created using only one image. We'll show you the process, and doing variations very quickly. Variations of that given material will show you how mixing materials together to obtain crazy, interesting things. Non-photoreal things as well. There is no limitation in what you can do, again. But also Victor Fréchard and Alexandre Martin have been able to produce a lot of content and interesting stuff and give us some feedback. So thanks to them. And now we can jump into the demo, I guess. All right, time for the demo.
All right.
All right.
All
so
right.
It does exist. It
is here. All right, so as Sébastien said, it's very early, so the demo should go smoothly. If it doesn't, please bear with us. It should be fine. All right, so you can do a lot of different things in Alchemist, and you can see the first tab I'm on here. It's called Explore, and it's really a way to kind of manage all your substances, and you can create libraries and collections, and the same way as you can in the old Substance player, you can also kind of tweak around the substances and see how they work. So, for example, for this substance here, I have a bunch of presets, so I can easily just switch to a different preset. But then I can also select other materials, see the presets, and also see the tweaks that are associated with these materials. So I have one here that's actually based on the scan data, and this one, for example, is entirely procedural. In this case, we have a lot of parameters we can play with, and again, I can just, like you could in the player before, or in the cloud player, I can kind of adjust all the settings and kind of play around with the material. When I'm happy with a setting, I can actually go back to my preset and maybe save that as a different one. So maybe just change the random seed a little bit, and maybe change the color of this to go maybe a little browner, and then I can go here and just create a preset. Then I have a new preset in my Substance, and I can also just save that preset into my collection if I want to access it later when I'm working on other stuff in Alchemist. So now what I'll do actually is I'll switch to the Inspire tab, and I'm going to grab that same material I have here and set it as my material on which I want to create variations from. And you see here we now have a color extraction mode over here, and I have a bunch of different settings I can play with here. I'll explain a little bit about them later. And what I'll go over here in my grounds and look for inspiration. And here I have a bunch of images that I can use to change the look of my material. And so I can easily just grab one of these, drag and drop it here, and as I do that, it will create a new version of my Substance based on the colors that we extracted here. Then I can really adjust this if I want, for example, to extract more colors. In this case, all these colors are kind of similar, but if I take something else like this, here we'll just create another variation again, and it will just adapt all these different colors to my input. So it's very cool to be able to have these materials that have all these settings. Instead of going manually and edit the settings to find what you're looking for, you can just get a concept art or a piece of or a photo, just drag and drop it here, and the material will kind of adapt as much as it can to that photo. And we can do it on one material. We can also do it on the whole collection of materials at the same time. So these were the kind of an example on the grounds. I also have a bunch of letters that I want to play around with. So I'm just going to collapse these and go look for my letters here. And I have a whole bunch here. I'm just going to import into my library here in Alchemist. And if I go back to my Explore again, I can just look at all these materials. Maybe I'm just going to reduce a little bit the displacement because these stitches are popping out a little too much. There we go. That's a little better. And so I can just go around these and kind of play around with settings. Again, I have this leather. I really like it. I just want to create kind of variations to fit with different patterns and different designs. So what I'll do is I'll go and grab it, put it here. I can clear my older variations here. And I'll go grab some other inspiration I have here. Not here. There we go. And here I have inspiration images that are much more kind of design-oriented, where I can, again, just going to go for maybe two colors here, because we basically have two different colors on this material, so I'm just going to extract only two. And first thing, for example, I'll take that lava, bring it here, and we'll get like a cool kind of black leather with some orange stitches. Can do the same thing with that lipstick, for example, and then we'll get kind of that nice little flesh-colored leather with the pink stitches. In this case, it actually picked up the background because that's what makes the most of the image. But in this case, what interests us is actually the color of the object that we took a picture of, not the background. So instead of doing using representative, which basically gives us the colors that are more present in the image, I'm going to choose deepness, and I will take the colors that are really more deep and have a little more saturation to it, and we'll kind of discard the background. So if I take deepness, now I have something that really matches that object, where I have that kind of fuchsia pink leather, and I got my kind of dark stitch with the little green highlight on it So it really picks up the colors that we actually want in this image. And so again, we can do that on the whole collection if we want to. So if instead of, let's say I'm going to create a new collection here, and I'm just going to add a bunch of letters in here. Let's add this one too. So these are all very different materials, and what I'll do is I'll grab this and put it over here, and it will create those variations for all my different letters at the same time. So that's kind of the inspire part of Substance Alchemist. We have, again, on all these different kind of areas of the tool I'm going to show, what we have here is kind of the beginning, and we have a lot more kind of options and features and methods to do to improve that are in the works that we can't show yet. But that's kind of the first step here. If you want to add anything at any time, just feel free to.
Yeah, it's open. Thank you.
Contribution. All right, so we did explore, we look at inspire, so now we're going to look at that create part. And so this is going to be interesting part. So we'll use grounds to for this part of the demonstration. And the first thing we'll do is I'll just do the photo. So if those of you who've used bitmap to material before, it's a way to create material out of a simple photograph. And so we kind of integrate the bitmap to material into Alchemist and make it more streamlined and increase the quality of the result we get. So what I'll do is I'll just switch here my environment a little bit. Since we're looking at the ground, I'm just going to take a plane. I'm going to switch my environment to something a little more outdoorsy. And switch my UV, get a little more displacement. And that should be good. So let's get my bitmap from here. I'll just drag and drop it here. And it will detect that it's an image that I can use with bitmap to material, so it will automatically select it. If I click OK, it will just generate my material. So I have a little too much displacement here. Just going to reduce it a little bit.
That was cool.
There we go. And so we already have a pretty cool material. If I go here, I can adjust all the settings. And if I actually go, let's get a little more space, we can see that we generated normal map, roughness, high element occlusion. Everything is here for material. Still, there are some adjustments that we want to make. The first one is, if you look at the side of my textures here, I have some seams. Obviously, it's just a photograph. And the seams come from, they're in the displacement. That's because our height here has some very dark parts and some very light parts due to the image that we use as an input. So we just want to have something a little more, just a little more uniform on the whole texture. So I'll go over here in my stack, and I have a bunch of filters that I can use for all sorts of different purposes. And the first thing I'm going to use is the equalizer. And so the equalizer will just take my height map and all the other channels and make sure that it will actually make a good tileable map. If I tile it over a terrain, I won't have like these huge bumps all over the place that really messes up the tiling. Now we have a nice uniform height map. We still have some pretty nasty seams here because obviously we still started from photograph. So if we look here, we still have the seams. So what I'll do is I'll add a tiling filter here. My tiling. And there we go. Now I have a tiling texture. The thing is, by default, we can crop that texture a little too much. So I'm just going to adjust here where I'm cropping the texture. And so it's updating in real time in the 3D view over here. And I can adjust it a little bit more. There we go. And then I have a bunch of settings that I can play with to kind of change the way the tiling goes. So you can see it. You can see kind of the boundary of the tiling moving around in the 3D view. And so I'm just going to put it a little bit here, and that's it. Now we have the tiling textures. Now if I look at the final result here, oops. Now we have a pretty cool tiling material with all our different channels. Last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the clone patch. I just want to get rid of a little part that I may not like in this material. So again, I'll just use my list here, look for my clone patch tool. And I'm I'm going to set up, it's really the same way as you would use a clone tool in Photoshop or in Substance Painter. I'm just going to set up a little point here, and then I'm just going to paint out the little branch here. There we go. And so that way we just, again, all the channels at the same time, it's just updating that, and now I got rid of that branch here. All right, so we get a pretty cool material here. Yeah. The only thing is that if you look at the material right now, we started from a photo, and it still looks very much like a photo that was applied on the plane. And that's because if I look at my base color, we'll still have all that lighting information in there. And it looks fine when you just look at the image, but if you have that map in any like real-time or pre-rendered environments, you want the lighting to come from the actual lighting of your scene and not from whatever photo you took, whatever environment you were in when you took that photo. And that's where our AI comes into play. And so we developed a delighter that we actually trained. We trained a neural network on the source library, and through thousands and thousands of materials and variations, so that it would detect how lighting works in materials, and that will allow us to actually remove that lighting. So let's go for it. It may take a few seconds. And a few more, and there we go. And so if you look at the albedo now, if you look at the actual values of the albedo, you'll see that we really didn't remove any details. All the details are still here, but all the shadows that were kind of the micro shadows and the larger shadows are pretty much gone. And so it kind of gives that fuzzy feeling on the map, but it's pretty just because that's how it would look like if you just had like a flood of light on the whole surface. And that will give us a much better result in 3D, because now if you look here, we get like some very strong shadows, and if I activate this, we get something that will look actually much more natural in any kind of lighting environment.
Can you change it?
So if I kind of move the light around, I'm going to get something a little more from here. Oops. Let me see what I have. This one is going to be very grazing angle. There we go. So we still got all details, but the lighting is gone from the image. So now we have a material that we're happy with, and we just want to save it in our library. So I'm just going to go here and save my stack to my library. I'm actually going to create a collection first for my grounds. There we go, and save that to my grounds over here. And that's going to be my pebbles. There we go. So now that I have a material, I want to kind of improve that material to mix it with other materials and to add procedural data on top of it and different things. So I'm going to clear my stack here. And I'm going to clear that base material and just drag and drop this material in here. So that will be the base of my material layering. And on top of it, I just want to add another material. So I'm just going to go in here and have that ground golf bunker material. I'm just going to drag and drop it in my viewport. And it will give us, after a few seconds, it will kind of blend that sand material with our original material here.
This is important here. What Jeremy is doing is adding a procedural material on top of another one that has been built just before us now. But that means that all the filters, all the tweaks, materials you can find on Substance Source, Substance Share that you created yourself, you can combine them there as well. The engine is integrated, obviously.
Yeah. So here I have against the Substance, so I have a bunch of parameters I can play with. That sand's a little too flat, so I'm just going to switch it to that after the rain setting. It'll give me like a little kind of bumpy sands, and then I can adjust the height of the sands to have just depending on how much I want to blend it. So I may do something like this. I have a little bit of sand here, and then I can add some height modulation, where I'm just gonna add some noise to that sand to make it look more natural. We have some patches where there is more sand, and some others where there isn't. And so we're starting to have a material that's a little more, that feels a little richer and that's a little more interesting. The next thing I'll do is add some water to it. Good, so that was actually taken on the beach, so we'll just add some water, kind of reduce a little bit the amount of water we have on there, get some nice reflection. We can add a little bit of dirt in the water, something like this. So it's kind of like low tides, kind of beach grounds. And then the last thing I want to add is just a little bit of moss.
Because we can.
Filter. That's too much moss.
It's too much.
So what I'll do is I'll just go change a little bit of settings. That moss color is kind of crazy, so we're just going to adjust it a little bit. More algae,
I guess.
Yeah, it's more algae that we want. Something like this, and then we can kind of spread it a little more, have it kind of sit on top of those rocks. There we go. There we go. And now we have a new material, and again, I can go in and kind of save my stack to my ground collection, and this is going to be my Bibble beach now. There we go. So that's kind of part of the create part of Alchemist, where you can layer materials, effects, and this list is just the default list we have right now. You can add any custom material, any custom filter you make. Some of these filters, like the AI stuff, is actually not a Substance filter. It's really just a C++ filter. And we'll have an API that allows you to bring in your own C++ filters and your own AI filters in there. So we expect the range of things you can do with it to really explode after the release.
Yeah, it's very important to mention that it's an open platform. This API for plugins is something that is very important for this tool. And we've been working with NVIDIA on integrating some of their technologies as a plugin. It was a super res thing that is currently being tested out. That's an example, but anyone with capable of producing filters in C++ will be able to do it. And you won't, using Substance Designer won't be the only option anymore. You will be able to do your own C++ filters as well. There's one thing I wanted you to do.
Oh, there's actually another thing I'm going to do before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do the normal create, and then I'll do your demo.
Yeah, please.
All right, so let me just switch here real quick to, I'm going to get that rounded cylinder shape here. And what I'll do is I have my base material here. I'll just bring a custom filter. Oh, I didn't do the stitches. I'll do it later. So let me add a normal. And in here, I'm just going to add a normal map. So let's go with this one here. So this is just a normal map that's from Substance, an old Substance that we had built internally. And right now we have a normal map, and we also have a height map. And the height map was actually built from the normal map using our our normal to height filter that we have in Substance Designer. And that's the kind of results. Oops. Where's my map? There we go. That's the kind of results you'll get from. Sorry, there we go. From the filter. And for hard surface stuff, it works for like organic stuff. For hard surface stuff, the issue is that you're going to get a lot of distortion because that's just the state of the art today. Is just generating a height from a normal map is just very hard. And so you get a lot of distortions and issues where those things that were on my normal map here, those little holes in my normal map, should be very subtle. But when you generate the height from it, it gets extremely strong. And so what we did is we also created a pretty cool filter that allows us to generate the height from a normal map in a very, very precise way. And it works every time, no matter the material. So if I use this, you see that the height we get from it is actually much, much closer to an actual bake of geometry that it is from just a processed image.
you don't see it, but I like the fact that the author of that algorithm is in the room right now. Is Jeff back there? And the funny thing is that he's actually filming, like he would film his kid. That's your kid. That's so funny.
So yeah, it gives you. I mean, we tried it on different things, and we tried it on baked meshes and on scanned materials, and the results we get are so close to the original geometry. It's really cool. So I'll try it on another material here. Typically this one, you can see like the result that Substance Designer gives us is horrible, because that's just very flat surfaces, very sharp edges. It's super hard to do anything with that with a normal map like this to create a height map. Normal map is very clean. The height we get from Substance Designer is pretty horrible. And if we use our filter here, we get something that is super clean. And if you look at the displacement here, it's almost perfect compared to the displacement where we had the Substance Designer method.
This is super useful when you do a scan object. Usually you get a normal, but not a height map. So getting a very good height map from that is actually doable now.
Cool thing is that it's also very fast. If let me add some, just something very simple here. I'm just adding some procedural rocks in the creases here. As you can see, because I can. As you see, like the height map we get from Substance Designer is all over the place, because it doesn't really look like anything. But if I use the normal to height, I get a height map that actually makes sense, and I can go in and tweak this and add more if I want to. I can add pebbles all over the place. It's not going to disrupt the other kind of height map around it, and that means that you can really layer stuff on top of it. And our normal underneath our height map underneath just stays perfectly flat and perfectly smooth. And it's real time, as you can see. It's the same as tweaking a substance. All right, so last part of the demo. So let me just set up a few things for this. I'm going to go back to our leathers. So let's go here. We're going to bring a custom mesh here, so you can see the leathers a little better. Oh, actually, let's try on the sphere first. I'm going to switch our UV a little bit here. We're going to stay in 2K. And I'm going to reduce the displacement, because the displacement of the leather is always a little too much. And there we go.
Let's say it's a real life example.
Yeah.
You have something to do.
All right, so we'll use this leather over here. Yeah, let's use this guy. So let's go in create modes. And we'll bring in our leather over here. Oops, my bad. Let's do that again. Oh, yeah, it should actually work. I'm going to have to remove this. There we go. All right, so I have my leather. First thing I'll do is I'll add some stitches to that leather. So I'm going to import a custom filter and little stitches here. And the way that the stitches were actually built in those materials, we can actually bring in a custom filter to customize the stitches here very quick. So I can go here and kind of change the pattern of the stitches. So if I want a square or a line, or maybe I want a diamond stitch, and then I can kind of switch the amount of stitches I have, and the position of the stitches. And you can really, I mean, there's like tons of parameters. I'm not going to go for all of it, but you can really customize that stitch to look exactly what you're actually trying to create.
So again, it's illustrating this mix of parametric textures, the stitches, and scanned data. And yeah, there's one filter we wanted to try.
Yeah, so let's try to do that. So that's the part we haven't rehearsed yet. So
I asked for it like 10 minutes ago, so yeah. Not 10 minutes.
All right, so that's going to be my stitch leather.
Yeah, it
This
didn't,
one here.
no crush yet, so,
No crush yet, so hopefully,
so we have to
yeah.
push it.
All right, so I'm just going to clear all that stuff. Bring in my leather over here. And this case, which is going to go with representative, and I don't care about my pink leather. And we're going to bring a different kind of reference. Let's see over here. Let's go with this one.
We had to.
All right, we're going to bring this and just going to extract us some colors. And now we have a nice kind of...
No crush, but almost.
And there we go. And now we have a nice kind of France theme, France soccer team theme leather.
But obviously something's missing.
Obviously something's missing. So we're going to save it in our library and go back to create here. Let's clear my stack. And we're going to bring our new cool leather in here. And we're going to add a custom filter on here.
So this is also to illustrate the fact that it's all completely open. That custom filter has been done by Jerome like a few hours ago.
Oh, my here. It's actually on the stitch.
And it's
kinda
been done
sucky.
in Substance Designer.
Let me try to
So
rotate
very
this.
quickly you can add your own filters in there, right? So what's going on?
You can go to the channel.
I can go here. Actually, in
Go to the channel.
can you modify my? Come on, Jerome, help me. You're the pro.
You can position it. Go to the channel.
Oh, I can position it? Oh, cool. I didn't know. All right, so we're here, and I'll do it again. Put my custom filter, emboss. And how do I position it? Cannot.
See, where is it, Jerome?
It's not there
Okay.
anymore. All right. It's all right. I'm just going to remove the stitches.
Yeah, remove the stitches.
We're going to do it without the stitches. All right, so we'll go back to Inspire. That's why we rehearse. And instead of using this one, I'm going to use this material. Cool thing is that it's pretty fast to generate other. Oh, I'm actually going to use the one I have in my library over here. The one that doesn't have the
It's
stitches.
the slowest joke ever, which is
I
bad
know.
for jokes usually.
All right, there we go. We have our leather. Let's go back to create. We're going to bring back our material, and then we're going to bring back our emboss filter.
There you go.
And then we can just do a little tweak. And just add a little second star.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
All right, we got it.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I'm a soccer fan, so I have to admit, so I asked for that last minute change. All right, so going back to my slides now. Yeah, thank you. So you've seen this first demo ever of Project Alchemist. And thanks, Jeremy. Didn't crash, worked almost perfectly. And but I mean, it's interesting, like what I wanted to do with these 2-star things is basically like push the thing like at the very last minute. Because first, I like to take risks. And second, it's real life, right? You have to make changes all the time. So being able to very quickly iterate on a filter and on the thing you do inside of Alchemist is actually shows how practical it can be. And so these inspirations, actually, I'm showing now, have been one of the most liked feature of Project Alchemist by the beta testers, because you can go very fast, like explore variations and in colors, and you can have like mood books and go from there, right? Anyway, so and create all these variations very quickly. Anyway, so that's it for the first that keynote. I will say a few more words. First about the program for the day. So you we're just before break. We're good on time, so that's okay. So then Wes will be doing an in-depth demo of Substance Designer, and we'll be giving tips and tricks. Jeremy here again will be this afternoon giving a demo of Substance Paintup and the latest feature especially. And then we'll have Mark Austin from Double Negative or DNAG for Pacific Rim Uprising. Super proud to have Mark talk and do this demo, how they've been using Substance for the Jaegers, as I was mentioning. Also super proud to have the CTO of Theia Interactive, Stephen Phillips, for the use of Substance in a VR, AR experience. And at the end of the day, we will reveal the winners of the David and Diana apparel creation contest that we launched in Seoul a few months ago. And then we can have a cocktail meet and greet. That will be the fun part. Speaking of the experience, the VR experience from Theia, here is a screenshot of it. So it's all real time and it's in VR, and he will be talking about it. So I don't want to show you too much now, but they will be on booth 429 on the Star VR booth. And turns out this booth is actually just in front of our own booth. And as soon as you see people in suits, that's our booth, and they're just in front of us, right? Anyway, thank you again. Wanted to say super happy to have you today. More demos will come after. We will be around anyway. If you're like us, we're hiring, and this is the slide I've been using for like the last 2 years or so, like every time I talk, because we're hiring all the time. And not all the time, but a lot. Anyway, so if you're interested, ping us, and yeah, thank you again.
Thank you, guys.